Hello, my friends. It is day 137, and we're reading 2 Samuel chapter 16 through 2 Samuel chapter 18. But before we get into today's recap, we want to thank you for taking a moment to check out this video. And hopefully you're finding the yearly Bible reading program a tremendous blessing as you read through the Bible every single day. If you have not yet accepted the invitation, please take a moment to check out the description box below. And there you will find a link that will take you directly to the YouVersion Bible app where you can join us as we read the Bible every day and share feedback on the things we're learning. I know you'll be blessed by the interaction as much as we are blessed by your participation. And so it's not too late. Please take a moment to check that out and join the community. So today we are reading back in the book of 2 Samuel, and we're continuing the drama of conflict between David and his son Absalom. And we have a number of things happening here. It's very obvious that at this particular time in David's reign, it's not his brightest day. These times that we're reading about are all filled with conflict and all sorts of trouble, just tension, drama, which is not characteristic of the type of reign and reputation David had earlier in the book. It kind of seems like David is still dealing with the failure and the consequence of his transgression against Uriah. That's the way I understand all of this. And we see in chapter 16, instance where that is clearly demonstrated. If you look at chapter 16 and you see in verses 5 through verse 14, you see Shimei is one who comes and curses David. He's shouting to him, "Get out of here, you murderer, you scoundrel." He was actually a son from one of the clans of, or the same clan as Saul's family line. And so, just kind of seeing how all this plays out and see the growing, I don't want to say hatred, but the growing displeasure that individuals are having with or against David. He's no longer seen as like the strong leader that he was. I think people, at least from what we are seeing here, the way the book depicts it, people are looking at David and they're no longer afraid of him. They're not intimidated by him. They're willing to challenge him. You can see how this is kind of a tactic that up and coming leaders and rulers would perhaps do or use in the ancient world whenever they think they have an opportunity to overcome a very dominant leader. And people seemingly are willing to take their chance at David. And what I love about this, but then it makes me wonder what's going on, is David's response, because the old David may have handled this situation differently. But this David, with all this new pressure, and seemingly, I don't know what his age is, but it looks like a little bit of age as well. Maybe that's what it is. He does not at all get into the conflict. He doesn't take the bait. In fact, he says in verse 8, the Lord is, well, this is what what Shimei said. The Lord is paying you back for all the bloodshed in Saul's clan. You stole his throne, and now the Lord has given it to your son Absalom. At last you will taste some of your own medicine, for you are a murderer. And Abishai is seeing this, and he's like, man, we could take care of this right now. We don't, because remember, David had these guys, right, that who were strong military leaders, and they knew how to fight, and they were specialists in some regards. And they're seeing this guy challenge the king and disrespect him, and they're looking like, man, we can literally say, let me go over there and cut his head off. And notice David's response. David says, no. Who asked your opinion, you sons of Zeruiah? If the Lord has told him to curse me, who are you to stop him? Can you imagine this? Okay, so imagine this. David is in a position in life, particularly after what he did to Uriah, where he is assuming that everything bad that happens to him is God's response to what he did and the transgression that he made against God. I want you to think about how terrifying that is, and just how miserable that can be, thinking that God is trying to get back at you at every moment. Like, and this is what he says. I mean, he says, look, the Lord told him to curse me. And then let's see, verse 11 says, then David said to Abishai and to all his servants, my own son is trying to kill me. Doesn't this relative of Saul have even more reason to do so? He says, leave him alone. Let him curse, for the Lord has told him to do it. And here's his appeal. Perhaps the Lord will see that I am being wronged and will bless me because of these curses. And so they go on about their way. And he doesn't respond. He doesn't take the bait. And he goes on. So we see this kind of rolling out over the next few chapters. But in chapter 18 is where we see the end of at least this part of it, because Absalom dies. And you can see in chapter 18 how distraught David is over the death of Absalom, even though with all the drama and all the things he did and the underhanded activities, David again is still hurt by this whole situation. So we have a lot that we can read through, and we have, again, the reality is when a person is forgiven, doesn't mean that the consequence is erased. And we have a situation here where David is really dealing with the consequence of the sin that he committed and the consequence that was pronounced by Nathan. So we'll continue to see how this all unfolds and how this gets us from David to perhaps the new era where his son will continue. But we have a little ways to go before we get there. So let's keep on reading and let's keep learning what it is that the Lord will have us to know for our time. Let me know what you're thinking in the comment box. Please leave a comment there or either in YouVersion, and we'll love to see what thoughts you're having that can inspire us to look at this passage or these passages a little differently. But until next time, thank you for watching. Take care. God bless, and remember, live by the word.